Hello and welcome to another episode of Celiac Straight Talk, the podcast where we come together for a cure. I'm Claire Baker, Senior Communications Director at Beyond Celiac, a nonprofit dedicated to fostering greater understanding and awareness and accelerating research for treatments and a cure for celiac disease, a serious genetic autoimmune disease. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and don't forget to like and share our podcast.
Jenna, you've had quite the health journey, and I just want you to talk to us a little bit about that health journey and empowerment, how you've been so strong and how you've been able to, the past 8 months has probably not been easy, but I see your sense of humor and you live life to the fullest. Tell us a little bit about how you go about that. And when you wake up in the morning to the end of the day, give us an idea of your routine.
If this was an 80s sitcom, you would have the get up in the morning and tell me their routine. But you said the word perfectly and used the word empowerment. And that's what it is I was diagnosed with the BRCA1 mutation back in February, and I was given a choice of what I could do. And I didn't think twice. I didn't hesitate. It is the same approach I have applied to every big decision I've ever made, every, crossroads I've ever come to. It's, you have a choice to make. Why sit on it? Why wait? What are you waiting for, right? There's no clear-cut sign from the heavens above that's ever going to come down and say, now's the time to have kids. Now's the time to get in shape. Now's the time to stop smoking. Now, it doesn't work. That's not how life works. You have to come up with that. You have your own internal clock. And so I had to make a choice, knowing full well that choice was going to bring a whole host of discomfort my way, which it did for the last 8 months. But life doesn't stop. I don't stop being a mom just because I have to, go through all this, or, stop being a wife or a sister or a daughter. So it's about empowerment. It's about taking the choices that are set out in front of me and saying, okay, I can do this, this, or this, but I have to do one of them. And it's that approach that has, brought me right where I'm at today, and to be as healthy and clear thinking as I am today, I would say.
And so our community resists getting tested. A lot of times our family members don't want to get tested for celiac disease, right? They don't want to know that they have celiac disease. And that, we heard earlier today about people say, get your family members tested. And it looks like you really took according to your health in your hands, right? You really said, I'm going to be proactive, I'm going to get tested, and then you took charge. What words of wisdom would you have for somebody with a family member with celiac disease that is hesitant to get tested?
Well, I completely understand that, because I got a call from my parents. It was a Saturday morning, and my mom and dad were on their way, they're out leaving for vacation, and my mom said, I need you to know I tested positive for the BRCA gene. I know this is a lot I'm laying on you. At some point when I get back, we'll talk about it. We'll call the genetics department. You'll get yourself tested, but you have time to think about it. And I hung up the phone and I said, well, who is she who's my mom to tell me I have time to think about it? It's me. It's my journey and my body. And I got on the phone on a Saturday morning. I'm like, why wait? Like, why am I going to wait? It's just going to, I'm putting off the inevitable. And so I talk about this all the time, right? Nothing is going to change with you if you don't do anything. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And you can sit and you can think and you can mull it over and you can weigh your options and you can think about your life 5 years and 10 years down, and maybe Wednesday's a better day for Monday, the first of the year, the first of next year. No, it's today. Everything, you're better off doing it now, because if you don't do anything, nothing happens, right? So you stay exactly where you are if you don't do anything. And if you do, yes, it might be uncomfortable for a little while, but everyone knows that the choice they have to make, whatever that thing is, genetic testing or just going to the doctor or changing your diet, whatever it is, your life gets better on the other side. You know it.
No, that is so wise, because everybody has something, right? And making sure that you're able to live that life to the fullest.
Of course.
And not being afraid to know what might happen, but taking charge and taking your health in your own hands.
And that's the message that I know you push. I mean, how do you push that message to folks living with celiac disease, this idea of power, of taking that personal power back?
So when somebody is initially diagnosed with celiac disease, well, let's break it into two parts. So if we want somebody to get diagnosed, we want them to get tested or their family member tested, and somebody is recommending that their family member get tested, we say don't nag them all the time. Don't, every time you sit down for dinner, whether it's Thanksgiving or whatever, don't nag, okay? But tell them that you love them, it's a serious disease, that you have the disease, and as a gift to you, would you get tested? So that's what we do. We empower the person that has celiac disease to talk to their family members and do it with love, but don't do it all the time. And just make a very clear message that this is important to you as somebody that loves the person that should get tested. And then secondly, when somebody is diagnosed with celiac disease, we have them focus on what they can eat, rather than focusing on what they can't eat and all the things that they got to cut out. I can't have, gluten, I can't have pretzels, I can't have bread, I can't have this, I can't do that. We have them focus, just like we talked about food allergies, focus in on what you can eat and don't get yourself socially isolated, because social isolation is a killer.
Yeah.
And it's important that you live your life with people.
Community,
Right?
Yeah.
Build the community. And that's what I wanted to say back to you. So do you, with your health journey, have you found another community? I know there's a lot of people that have been working with you, and you're so good at reaching people and talking to people, and then you have that empathy. Tell us a little bit about how you built a community.
It's about sharing your story. If you're going through it, there's someone out there that's going through it. Maybe not as vocal, maybe not as well known, maybe that doesn't have the platform you do. And so simply by just putting it out there, I didn't have all the answers. I said, here I am at the beginning of my journey. This is what was just thrust upon me. I'm in this sort of world of unknown right now, and I'm embarking on a chapter of my life that I didn't even know was going to be in the book. So it's new to me, right? We have this sense of a linear life that we want to lead. It's going to do this, and then do this, and then we do this. And life's like, yeah, that's not how we work. We're going to make a whole bunch of rights and lefts. And just by putting it out there, every once in a while, however they reached out, whether it's via social media, whether it was stopping me on the street, whether it was a phone call. I know a friend who has a friend who has a friend, which I'm sure in the celiac community, I know someone who has. You start talking to people. Oh, you did this? You start hearing their stories. Oh, you went through this? You start learning and understanding who they spoke to and what they went through. And I swear to you, it made the journey so much easier for me, knowing A, I wasn't the only one, and I'm not the only one that's going through it. B, there is another side, right? C, it's okay and possible and almost pleasant to live with what your genes have sort of thrust upon you. I am going to be able to live with it. I am going to be okay. Even though I have children who I worry about down the road, let's just focus on today. And let me deal with myself. Everyone's like, well, what about your kids? Unless I make myself better, the way I think, my health, unless I take care of myself, I can't take care of anyone else around me. And that's the message that I always tell people all the time. You have to go focus on you today, not tomorrow. Do it today. You're far kinder than I am. Your message is, don't nag so much. And I'm like, nag all the time. Like, nag. I mean, when I was 7, I wanted my dad to shave his mustache. I think for a year straight, every day I was like, oh, shave it. And then he shaved it. And guess what? It looked terrible. I was like, no, grow it back. It was the worst idea I ever had. So I think your approach is much better than mine as far as letting people come to the decision, let them know you love them, you're there for them. And community, you're going to share, there are other people out there sharing the journey with you. I'm sure you found the same thing, right? You live with celiac disease, plus you're running the organization. I don't even know how you're motivated to do both day in and day out, but somehow you do. I'm sure the message is similar.
How I started the organization was by telling my story, right? It was telling my story because I had a full-term stillbirth and 3 miscarriages, and my youngest daughter was born at 2 pounds. And for 8 years, I went from doctor to doctor. My hair was falling out, my teeth were breaking, I had migraine headaches, And whatever doctor I went to, it was a symptom that they, said they were treating the symptom rather than the underlying cause. And I felt so empowered. And your message of empowerment was all about ask your doctor. Don't be afraid. Come armed with information. And if you have a gut instinct on something, follow that gut instinct. And that's where I love what you had to say about telling your story, because you know what, we all have a different story. Everybody has a story. And mine, was one story. You have another story. But part of the story is sometimes people, when they have a chronic disease, they want to, or something, they have a health matter or a health issue, they may not want to exercise. And I know one of the things you do is you're a tremendous fitness coach.
Yeah, I don't want to not exercise. I'm the opposite.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about that. If somebody doesn't want to, they're feeling not well and they don't want to get out of bed. And, I find myself being athletic that my physical health affects my mental health. A lot of people with celiac disease have, as we talked about, had neurocognitive issues. So they can't spit out words. They might have brain fog, anxiety, depression. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you do get involved in that mental motivation and are physical, so that you can train people that may have a chronic illness and may not be able to do what they did 10 years ago? Of course, I can't do what I did 10 or 20 years ago.
I don't believe that for 1 second. I think you can. So it's smart. And one of the biggest myths is that, or one of the questions I get all the time is, well, how are you so motivated every day? I'm not motivated every day. It's a struggle for me on many days. And when you're not motivated, you have to find something else to propel you past whatever it is that wants to keep you in bed or keep you on the couch or keep you in front of the TV. And for me, there is a connection. The mind and body for me is super connected. I don't feel my best unless I have just moved. And so the last 8 months was really hard. It was just, surgery after surgery, and each one required 5 weeks of really doing nothing but very light walking. And so I knew that wasn't getting my mind right by doing that. And so I had to sort of, look inside and dig deep and find something else. I look at exercise and being able to move as a blessing. And people that don't want to do it, I say all the time, like, you don't realize how lucky you are. There are so many people who just can't move and who can't do the thing that you can do. Nobody regrets a workout. No one finishes up a workout and says, I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe I burned all those calories and got stronger. There is never a regret when it comes to that. And with anything else that you're going to do that you're either doing, to start or that's mildly uncomfortable or that's something you don't want to do. Yeah, day 1 is always hard. And day 2 is hard, but maybe a little less. And day 3, and the minute you start doing something, whether it's adopting a gluten-free diet, which in the beginning, it's going to be hard and it's going to be messy and it's not going to come without its share of little hiccups. It's the same thing as anything else we want to do. My daughter has a nut allergy, and in the beginning, having to sort of sidestep all the mountains that are in front of us, that's hard. And exercising is the same thing. It's getting out of your own way. It's knowing why you're doing it. It's understanding that once you get to the point where it's not such a monumental feat, it is so good for you. It is good with you. It is, to me, the best medicine. Everything else I've gone through, and I've had for the last 8 months, any and every kind of piece of medical advice thrown my way, the best thing I've gotten is just get out and move. You'll feel better about yourself. And it's hard to do, so I talk about sharing. Like, I put it on Instagram the other day. I can only walk right now. Does anyone want to come for a walk with me? This is what I want to talk about. Does anyone want to join me? We'll talk about whether I'm going to get my kids a dog. I'm not getting my kids a dog. But it's out there as something to talk about. And I say this all the time. This is all we're born into. We have one body. We don't get to, end up at age 75 and say, all right, I'll do it again. This time I'll watch what I eat and I'll monitor my cholesterol. No, this is it. You got to take care of what you were, brought into this world with. You're the only one that's really going to do that. There's no one else doing it for you. So if you don't do it the right way at the right time, life is going to pass you by and you're going to have so many more problems down the road. And there's no do-over, right? You don't get a lifetime rehearsal. This is it. You're in the show. And we're living this show right now. So make it a blockbuster.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow. Well, Alice,
That was amazing, Jenna. I mean, I feel so empowered just talking to you.
Let's go work out. Come on.
Yeah, we're going to head off to the gym now, guys.
And the organization's been around like 20 years, right? Can you talk to me a little bit about the work you do at Beyond Celiac and what you're doing to help push research forward, especially for those living with celiac disease?
Sure. So, Jenna, just like you, I feel like I have one life to live and I want to make an impact. And when I started the organization, I started it to solve problems. So I wanted to make sure that gluten-free food was available, affordable, accessible, and people were getting diagnosed. When I was diagnosed, we ordered our food from Canada and we had it shipped to support group meetings. Now, because of our work, gluten-free food is mainstream. You can go to any grocery store, right, and find the gluten-free food. But what we found along that journey is that the gluten-free diet was not enough. It was more of a Band-Aid. And we started to collect data from the community. And we asked the community, tell us your symptoms, tell us what's going on. And we realized that many people in the community were still experiencing lots of symptoms. So we talked about anxiety, depression, GI issues. They're not able to go out to eat, and realized that people were getting incidental or accidental gluten exposure. The diet wasn't working. So we pivoted our mission to accelerating treatments toward a cure for celiac disease. And we have a science plan. In our science plan, we have a 360 approach. You can't just fund research. You really have to make sure that when you're deploying a plan, that you look at it, one, with evidence generation, so again, collecting the data from our community. Two, is funding the best and the brightest researchers around the world, internationally, not just here in the United States. So if we know the Sheffield Group in England is really the experts in funding, in understanding neurocognitive issues with people with gluten sensitivity and celiac disease. We just funded last year $1.6 million in research so that we can help our community understand what's going on with them. And then more importantly, that we can help understand when somebody, the number one question our community has is, when my body, I was tolerating gluten, now I'm not tolerating gluten. What is happening? So understanding what takes the body from tolerance to intolerance, and how do we bring it back to tolerance so that they can be able to live life to the fullest and eat without fear. And then of course, we encourage the community to enter clinical trials, because without the clinical trials, we will not have hope, we will not have potential therapies. And as we're advancing science under our Chief Scientific Officer's domain, we have to meet our community where they are. In the beginning of their diagnostic journey, they're going to have a lot of questions. They won't even be able to go to the grocery store. So we have all the resources on our websites, through our ambassadors, through our volunteer programs, that we help our community through every part of their journey. And even if they're in a long-term care facility and they're older, we have resources for everybody along that journey so they can eat without fear. Because when you enter, whether it's in school or it's a long-term care facility, guess what? You're putting your life into somebody else's hands.
Sure.
Because they're feeding you. So we're here to empower the community. We're here to support the community, give them hope. But most importantly, right now, we're focused on treatments leading to a cure for celiac disease so they can eat without fear.
I get asked this a lot. I just tested positive for the BRCA. What do I do today? So for someone who just recently found out they're living with celiac disease, what advice would you give them right off the bat?
Well, the first thing I tell them right off the bat is take a deep breath, and that they should go to the website and read the website, download our Getting Started guide. But again, focus on what you can have. Get yourself a buddy. Go into the supermarket. We talked a little bit about buddies, right? You're going to the supermarket, get yourself a buddy, and shop with somebody with celiac disease. You're going into a restaurant, go to a restaurant with somebody who has celiac disease, And so that you have that buddy and they can help you learn to order off the menu.
Smart.
And don't be afraid to be empowered and ask questions. Especially, we teach the children, speak up. You know, many times if they can't speak up, we say, do you have a friend that will speak up on your behalf? So it's really important to have these connections, to have community, but first and foremost, focus on what you can have, find yourself a buddy, and if you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up over it. You know, we all make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Don't focus on the mistake, focus on moving forward. We have dedicated millions of dollars to research internationally to get us to treatments leading to a cure by 2030. We rebranded to Beyond Celiac to go beyond the gluten-free diet.
Love.
And go beyond celiac to autoimmune disease. Because celiac disease is the only autoimmune disease with a known antigen. So which is when you ingest gluten, our body attacks itself. Other autoimmune diseases, they don't understand what the trigger is for the autoimmune disease. So celiac disease could be the key to unlocking autoimmune disease. So I'm very passionate about celiac disease and then unlocking autoimmune disease through celiac disease, because there are 50 million people in the United States with autoimmune diseases. And the medical community, we go to different doctors depending on what the organ is. And if we look at it more holistically, we'll get further, farther, faster.
50 million people, but not Beyonce.